the international community has been largely silent on Israel's actions, but the risk of a broader conflict is undeniable. So do you believe Israel's increasing aggression could provoke a larger regional war?
Well, it's great to be with you. And I don't think the international community has been quiet at all. But what I do think is that this is an incredibly complicated international security dynamic, and it requires all different players, Middle East and allies, as well as quite frankly, Russia and China, who sit at the Security Council, to pay attention and participate. And the war is expanding, without a doubt. It's very, very concerning. It's expanded now into Lebanon. It expanded into Lebanon largely because Israel, after months of warning Hezbollah to stop bombing its northern territories, decided that those calls were not being heeded. And so there it went. But there's a high risk to this because, as we know from history in recent decades, Beirut and Lebanon have suffered greatly when Israel has launched attacks and strikes into it. So this requires a lot of different countries. And I don't think we've seen enough pressure on some of the other warring parties, unfortunately, to try to make this war stop from expanding.
Mhm. Well, the international community might not be quite silent, but it has been less influential.
Yes,
But
yes,
within Israel
agreed.
itself, like, it faces growing internal dissent as the prolonged conflict drains its own resources and stirs
It
public
does.
unrest. Now, in your opinion, sir, could these internal pressures force Israel's leadership to consider its aggressive tactics, or are we witnessing a more entrenched militaristic stance?
You know, there are some very interesting polls that have come out recently about Israeli public opinion. One that struck me is that if there were an election today, Benjamin Netanyahu's party, the Likud, would gain the most seats, but in the elections as the number one party, but would lose overall seats that it currently has in its coalition. A bit of a paradox in that the coalition of his government is not popular, but the policies that he's pursuing broadly are. And this is where it gets complicated because there are hundreds of thousands of Israelis that have been protesting against his policy towards Gaza, believing that he should take a ceasefire for hostage deal, that he should do more. Unfortunately, Yahya Sinwar in Gaza also has a vote, and he does not seem to want to make a deal. So I think Israeli politics are going to continue to pressure the prime minister as an individual, but broadly speaking, there is a lot of support for the policies of military strikes against Hezbollah and the continuing pressure on Hamas. But there still are loud voices, and I think the right making the right argument that a ceasefire is needed to get the hostages out of Gaza.
Mhm.